Welcome to C2 Biz Growth Iron Sharpens Iron podcast, where CEOs and entrepreneurs share how they are overcoming business growth and sustainability challenges.
Welcome. I am your host, John Hale III, and we are excited to have as our guest today, Ursula Dudley Oglesby. And we're honored that you're joining us today. Currently, she is the president of Dudley Beauty Corporation, LLC, a 58-year-old company specializing in providing over 300 hair care, cosmetic, and beauty products and services. Based in North Carolina, Dudley manufactures, produces, and distributes its own products and services worldwide to multiple countries. Also, Dudley has 3 Dudley Beauty colleges: Greensboro, North Carolina, Chicago, Illinois, and Washington, D.C. And the company was started with the massive sum of $10 in 1967 by Joe and Eunice Dudley, a true American success story.
Yep.
How are you doing today, Ursula?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. How are you today, John?
Doing well. And so first, I just wanted to start to understand, how are you showing up today? Meaning that you are the president of Dudley Beauty Corporation, LLC, representing the second generation of actually operating the family business. This is a tremendous legacy that you have. We just want to start out with understanding what experiences from your childhood or early career had the most impact on who we see today.
So that's a great question. And I will tell you, as I talk to different business people, is that, it's important that when you have children that you expose them to the business early. And so for me, growing up in the business, I had the opportunity to work in all facets of the business. So I've sold door to door. I've sold door to door in Greensboro, North Carolina, in the streets of Chicago. I worked in our factory. We had a hotel at one point. I made beds in the hotel, worked customer service. You name it, I've done it. One of the most important things, though, I would say that my parents did for me when I was young is they put me in business. So we never had an allowance or anything like that. We didn't get paid for chores. We did get paid for grades, so that was helpful. But we were taught early on how to be in business. And so when I would say 10, 11 years old, my parents put us in business. And so a friend of mine, we sold popcorn. So that's when the air poppers came out, air popper machines for the popcorn. And we started selling popcorn. So during our meetings, because we would have sales meetings with all the salespeople, and we would sell bags of popcorn to them that they could eat during the meeting. And from then on, we sold fruit. And then at one point, I sold pantyhose. So I understood about business very early on. And I did the same thing with my kids, is that I put them in business and they sold cookies. So I baked the cookies and I charged them to bake the cookies. And then they sold the cookies. And then I remember distinctly at one of our meetings, they said, "Oh, the price of these cookies is too low. We need to increase the price." I said, "Okay, well, very good." They decided how much they wanted to increase the price. So they understood at a young age that, they've got to look at all of those pieces, inventory, what does it take to make the product? What are your costs of goods sold? What is your pricing? Am I making enough money? Am I making a profit or not? So those are the things that really helped me as a child. And of course, it helps me to this day.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. I guess when the kids came back with that price increase, lesson learned, right? Check mark, a big smile went on your face, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
That they got it. It's like good. Thank you for sharing that. So you had mentioned working in the manufacturing and in the plant producing the product, et cetera. So can you just tell us a brief story about how my understanding is when the company first started with your mom and dad, your home was actually where the products were made, and in the role that you and your siblings played in that.
Yes. So in the very beginning, so my parents started and met at Fuller Products, Inc., which is a company which was started by Mr. S.B. Fuller. And he was one of the first Black millionaires in the United States. And so they met in Brooklyn, New York, and they became a distributor for Fuller Products. So when we moved to Greensboro, North Carolina, when I was young, my parents had trouble getting some of the Fuller products. And so they decided that they would start making some of their own products. And so they bought some formulas from a gentleman, and then bought a big vat that they had in the kitchen. And so they would buy the raw materials, make the products in the big vat. My father would go to beauty salons, get their old containers, wash them out. They would fill the products in the kitchen. My mother would type the labels, and then my brother and I would help cap the products, and then my father would go sell them by day. So that's how we got into manufacturing very early. And
In
I'm
the kitchen, in the
really,
house. What?
yes, in the house. And I'm excited to say that one of those products we still sell today. It's still one of our top selling products. And it's called Scalp Special. And it's a medicated menthol type product that
Mhm.
really helps with itchy scalp. So you never know where things will
Right.
take you.
Fantastic. So I presume after you would do your homework or extra time, quote unquote, spare time, you all were putting caps on products in the house, in the kitchen, or the basement.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes.
It's fantastic. And so to take a step back, we had talked about how the Dudley Corporation, Dudley Beauty Corporation LLC, has over 300 products. Can you give us a sense of what you guys started with and how you've expanded over 300 products? And what was the rationale, the strategy of how you decided to go into a new market and invest the cost? You mentioned inventory, capital costs to actually develop a new product.
So, lots, lots to
Mhm.
say there. So
Sure.
let me start in the beginning. In the beginning, my parents had hair care products. So they made those products in the kitchen. That went really well. And then eventually, had a factory and learned manufacturing actually when we moved to Chicago. So we moved to Chicago so that my father could become president of Fuller Products. And that's when we learned the manufacturing side of the business. So we were in Chicago for 8 years, and that's basically where I grew up. Okay, so then from there, and while we were in Chicago, we decided to go into the professional side of the business, meaning selling products or making products for beauty salons and barbershops. So we expanded at that time. Well, from there, when we moved back to North Carolina, business had really boomed and we started selling to, the products in different states and, really started growing, built a manufacturing facility. And my parents were always looking at, well, how can we, expand and do even more and really serve our people? One of the things that people always ask us is, you don't sell your products in stores? And it's like, no, we don't sell our products in retail stores. And the reason for that is we want to keep the money in our communities. And for the most part, we don't own those retail stores. Now, way back when, we used to own a lot of the beauty supply stores, but we don't do that anymore either. So we want to keep that money in our community by selling
Mhm.
directly to beauty salons and barbershops. We want them to make that profit, or we sell directly to consumers. So at the time, we were really into hair care products, expanded into the more professional hair care products. And then my father was thinking ahead, and there are three of us. I have an older brother, Joe
Okay.
Jr., and I have a younger sister, Jania. And he wanted to basically have a company for all of us. Okay, I didn't know that at the time. So after I graduated from Harvard Law School,
Mhm.
my father said, "Hey, Ursula, I just bought a cosmetics company." I said, "Oh, that's nice." And he says, "I want us to come out with Dudley Price Cosmetics." I said, "That's nice." He said, "No, you don't understand. I want you to go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and learn how to make cosmetics." I said, "Now let me understand this correctly. You just paid all of this money for me to go to Harvard Law School, okay,
Mhm.
to get a law degree, and
Mhm.
now you want me to go make cosmetics?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Okay." So I knew that I was coming back to be general counsel for the company, which was fine, but I had
Mhm.
no idea I was going to be learning how to make cosmetics. So after I took the bar, passed the bar, I went and spent about 6 weeks in Milwaukee, Wisconsin,
Mhm.
learning how to make cosmetics. And about a year from that time period, we came out with Dudley Products Cosmetics, and that was like my baby. So that expanded our offering tremendously, okay? Because with cosmetics, you got to have different shades and, that sort of thing. So we had foundations, blushers, lipsticks. So that basically tripled the amount of products that we had with the with the increase of the cosmetics line. So that's how things really progressed from there.
Okay.
For me, what I look for when I'm determining whether or not I go to a new market is I say, okay, well, how am I doing in the existing market? And this is one
Mhm.
of the things that I tell business people is that Coke didn't come out with Diet Coke until Coke was doing well. Okay. You
Mhm.
don't start a second location until your first location is doing well. So for me, I am looking at How is this product doing? What is its life cycle? Because each product really does have a life cycle. You got to take into account the different trends. Is there a product that's coming out now that's, really popular and, is missing in our array of products that I need to be looking at? What's going on in the market? Is it that relaxers are popular or relaxers aren't popular? Natural hair is popular, color is popular. I'm looking at all of those things to determine if I'm, what products I'm adding to my existing list of products. Then, as far as other markets, then I'm looking at, okay, well, what makes sense for me? Am I going out too far from my core business? Because, over the years, we had done that too. Oh, we got into all kinds of businesses. We had a hotel, we had a travel agency, we had a radio station. Let's see, there's other things I'm not even remembering right now, but we did a lot of different things, and some were good and some weren't. So you learn, along the way what works and what doesn't work. But you got to keep trying things to figure out what's going to work for you.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that and just the valuable lessons that you have there. And we'll put a footnote in that. We'll get back to your dad's plans for you, and we'll ask how you're planning your kids' lives, and they don't even know yet.
No, they know.
Oh, they do know. Okay, okay, okay. So they're old enough that they know now. Okay, they know. Yeah, that is fantastic. And so, when you start the cosmetic line and you start new lines in some of these industries, there's already plenty of competition there. And so I wanted to get your sense of what is your unique niche with the current product lines you had, let's say with the hair care, and then we look to start the cosmetics. What is a unique niche that you guys have that you bring to the table that you feel that there's enough market share for you there to make a difference?
So a couple of things. One thing that we have been blessed to have is when we come out with a product, our product works. Okay. We're not one of those companies that, looks and says, oh, this is happening. Let me try this. Oh, this is happening. Let me try that. No, we really take our time and test our products beforehand. And I'm not saying that other companies don't, but we are not so quick to come out with something just to come out with something. We want to
Mm,
make sure that whatever we say it's going to do, it does. And that's how we have a product that's 58 years old that we're still selling, that's selling really well. Okay. So for us, I would say we have a couple of things that make us competitive. One, the products work. Okay. And it works on textured hair, which is, who our market is. Okay. And if we say that it's going to help to repair split ends, then it's going to help repair split ends, and people can count on that. Okay. Um, the other piece of that makes this, um, unique is that we are Black owned. Okay. We're family owned. We're Black owned. We're not just someone who has a Black face on a cover or something like that. We truly are Black owned. And that means something to us, which is why, as I said earlier, we don't sell our products in stores. Okay. I think that's important, to us as well. And I think that's important to some of our, clients, is that we want to keep that money in our community. In addition to that, we are looking at, a variety of things or different products that we can use to help stay current with the market. So, we have something for everyone, and I think that's another piece too. We're not a company that uh, is going to talk badly about any type of style, because I truly believe that, when we have freedom as people, when it comes to our
mhm,
hair, we can do whatever we want to our hair. Um, it's not that, one is better than the other. We have
mhm,
something for everybody. So whether your hair is straight with a relaxer, whether it's kinky coily,
mhm,
whether you wear a weave, whether you wear a wig, whether you're bald, it doesn't matter.
mhm.
You get to choose what style you want. If it's braids, if it's locks, that's fine. We have something for everyone, and our products work. So I think those are
Right.
the things that sets us apart from some of the other companies out.
Right, right. Well, thank you for sharing that in terms of knowing your market and serving your customers. And I noticed the beauty colleges as well, the Dudley Beauty colleges. How did those start, and how does that reinforce your brand? How does it increase your profitability? How does it give you staying power?
So, so our first Dudley Beauty College or Dudley Beauty School was started back in I'm gonna make sure I get this right. I want to say 1971. I hope I got that right. That's when our first one was started here in Greensboro, North Carolina, and it's actually right down the street from where the one is today. And so my parents had the opportunity to buy a beauty school, and they said, "Well, this is perfect to help us promote the products and that sort of thing." Back in the 70s. Well, since that time, one of the more important pieces, and we had a lot of beauty schools at one point is they said, okay, let's look at this. As students are coming into the profession, whether it's a cosmetologist, a barber, or esthetician, whatever the case may be, the products that they learn about when they first start, oftentimes, if they like those products and like the results, then they'll continue to use those products. So this is a way for us to have a lifelong customers. So that is how we got into the beauty school business, and it has continued. So, we're very fortunate to have the one, as you said earlier, in Greensboro, North Carolina. My mother runs that. It's called Dudley Beauty School Systems. Actually, it is part of what she does. My cousin Melanie McLean runs the one and owns the one in Washington, D.C. And then Betty Clausen, who's been a lifelong employee of ours and has done it all. We call her the notorious BRC. Runs the school in in Chicago, Illinois, and does a phenomenal job. And we have graduated tens of thousands of students over the years. And, they will tell you how excited and grateful they are to be a Dudley alum. And it is not just because they love the products, but it's also because we teach them that it's more than just about the products. It's about and styling. It's about being a good business person as well.
Fantastic. So they actually get that business sense when they graduate as well, and how to run a
Absolutely.
business and operate. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Leadership is real essential in all endeavors, but when you really look at business, it's really critical. And Joe Dudley Sr. had a couple quotes I wanted you just to unpack for me and to see how they resonate with you, because they really resonate with me. The first one was, "It's not what you earn, but what you learn."
So I think, one of the things that he instilled in us is, people can pay you all sorts of money, right? You can get paid 100,000, $1 million, $10 million, right? But if you don't have anything in your head, as he would say, right, then they can take that away from you. So you can earn a lot, people can pay you a lot, but if there's nothing up there that's going to help you during the good times and the bad times, because it's not a matter of, if the bad times will come, they're going to come. The challenging times are going to come. It's just a matter of what are you going to do during those challenging times. And one of his favorite ministers was Dr. Charles Stanley. And Dr. Charles
Right.
Stanley
Yeah.
used to say, count it all joy.
Right. Mhm.
When he talked about it's not what you earn, it's what you learn, it really is about what are some of the lessons that you learn and how are you using them, whether you're in good times or challenging times.
Right. Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And the second one was, "In our time and in our space, and with the grace of God, you and I can make a difference."
Yes, I love that one. I use that one all the time. And, for me, what it means for me is that, first of all, that you cannot do anything by yourself. Okay. It takes other people. And anybody who thinks they've done something by themselves is really, sorely mistaken. Um, we need other people to help us, to guide us, to challenge us, to motivate us, to encourage us. And, during this short time that we have on this earth, we have a responsibility to do more. Okay. We have a responsibility to do the best that we can to show our gratitude to God for giving us this life
Mhm.
that we have. So, um, when we take the time and say, okay, I need other people to do whatever it is that I want to do. And then you're going to be kinder to people. You're going to be nicer to people. You're going to help someone else. And maybe they'll help you and maybe they won't. That's okay. But you're going to do it out of the goodness of your heart. So when he says, and in our time, the time that we have on this earth, and in our space, whatever space you are, you know, you don't have to necessarily be all the way at the top. You don't necessarily have to always be at the bottom, but wherever you are in that, continuum or that ladder or however you want to look at it, you have some ability. So in our time and in our space and with the grace of God, because God gives us all grace, because we all do not do everything right all of the time. We all make mistakes. We all sometimes, can be selfish. But God gives us grace. And with God's grace, and it says in our time and our space and with God's grace, you and I can make a difference. We can come together, we can be stronger, and we can make this world a little bit better because we were here. And I think that's what he means.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I must say, amen, amen, and amen. That really resonates with my heart. No, it did. Yeah, that just resonated with my heart. I'll just leave it there. I don't need to say anymore. That leads right to the next question, actually, of talking about working with other people. How have partnerships and working with other people, entities, or companies, how has that been a key to your growth and just the ability to be around for 58 years and still thriving?
So I would tell you that we would not be where we are today without, various partnerships, whether it's our vendors. I mean, I got a email from one of our vendors yesterday that they are retiring and they're closing their business. And it just hurt my heart. But I immediately wrote back to them and told them thank you for all that they have done. As a family business and their screen printer. And, I told them I truly appreciate all that they've done and that they took on the legacy from their parents and, continue to work the business. And, I wanted them to know that their work had not been in vain, that we would not be where we are without their partnership. And yes, of course, yes, we were a customer and we paid them, and, so it's not like they did it for free, but still they did it. And it wasn't something that they had to do. And I will miss them tremendously. So it's, the partnerships with our vendors, our distributors, they're independent distributors. They have a choice whether to sell our products or not. And they choose to day in and day out. And we have had people who have been with us over 50 years. And I'm not talking about a few, I'm talking about a lot. And so that partnership means so much to us. The partnership with the professional cosmetologist who understand, what we are doing and how we want to help boost the cosmetology industry. That means a lot. I'm a part of a group called Vistage, which is a group of CEOs and C-suite executives who work together, and we come together once a month and we talk about our issues. We have speakers. That's been phenomenal for me in my personal development. During COVID, it was an absolute. I was also
Mhm.
part of Women's Presidents Organization, WPO. So to
Mhm.
have people around you who are going through some of the same things that you're going through, who can help you and advise you. Some companies are doing better than yours. Some companies might be doing not as good as you are. But to have them come together and provide um, that information, that sustenance, makes such a difference. And of course, our customers. We've had so many loyal customers who call us. I had a young lady call us today, and she out in California, and she's like, I'm looking for this product. Do you still have it? My customers love it. And she says, and I haven't called you all in a while. And I said, yes, ma'am, we sure do. And I like to, people are like, you're a president, you're answering the phone. Yes, I answer the phone. When everybody else is busy and they're on the phone, it'll ring to me last. I answer the phone because I understand that without my customers, I would not have a job. I would not be in business. I am happy to talk to our customers. So yes, the partnerships have made a tremendous impact on our growth, and we would not be able to grow without.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I was just going to have the same question. You answer the phone. as a president of the company? You asked, are you still around? I said, she answered the phone?
Yes, I do.
What?
I'm the last one. I'm the last
Right,
on the ring.
right, but it rings through the office. I got you.
Absolutely.
Got you.
I want to make sure our calls get answered.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And could you share with us how long you've been president of the company and how your leadership style has evolved and what you think you've learned the most about being president of the company that you didn't know beforehand?
So that's a great question. So Dudley Beauty Corp I started this company in
Mhm.
2008. So
Okay.
just to take you back a little bit, we had a fire at our facility at Dudley Products in 2007. And it basically almost put us out of business, when all the agencies come in and everything. Luckily no one was hurt. So thank God for that. But at that time, we needed to restructure. So we restructured, and that's when I started Dudley Beauty Corp. Okay. And then we had Dudley Beauty School Systems, which is what my mother had, and then
Mhm.
and my father had Dudley Manufacturing. Okay. So I started June 2008. And then you all know the Great Recession happened like July, August, September. Fun times. And I mean that very sarcastically. Okay.
Okay.
So anyway, what I will tell you is that what I learned about, and it took me a while because I was COO of Dudley Products. So I was always used to answering to, one of my parents, right? So
Mhm.
when I started Dudley Beauty Corp, and I'm the owner of Dudley Beauty Corp. Okay. And so let me be very clear about this. My parents did not just give me Dudley Products. I had to buy the assets. Okay. And I'm still paying for them today, but that's
Mhm.
okay. Okay. So it's not like I just inherited something. No, 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 no. I had to buy it. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Basically, what happened over time is, and I'm a very collaborative leader. I like
Mhm.
to get feedback from my employees who are
Mhm.
involved in whatever it is that I'm asking about, because I don't think that I know everything. They're closer to particular things, so I want to find out from them before I make, certain decisions. And so, as I was learning how to become the president, I'll tell you a funny story. So, when we were at Dudley Products, everyone signed in and signed out, other than the hourly people, they clocked in, clocked out. So,
Mhm.
when was at Dudley Beauty Corp, I would sign in and sign out too, because that's just what I was used to doing. And
Mhm.
finally, one of my people had to tell me, they said, Ursula, why are you signing in and signing out? I said, "Well, I'm used to signing in and signing out, and I want to make sure I set a good example." They're like, "Ursula, you're the president. Did your father sign in and sign out?" I said, "No." They said, "Then you shouldn't either." I said,
Mhm.
"Oh." So it took me a while, and I tell people all the time, just because you have the title doesn't make you the person. You have to grow into that, right? So it took me
Mhm.
a little bit of time to I knew conceptually, yes, that I was the president and I am the owner. Okay. Because I got to pay the bills. I got to make sure I pay payroll, all those sorts of things. Right. But some of my behavior was still as if I was reporting to someone else. So it took
Mhm.
me a little bit of time to really come into my own.
Mhm.
So, as the leader, as I said, I'm a little more collaborative. I like to think strategically about how things can be done.
Mhm.
Um, I look at, like I say, what's happening in the industry. I look at any trends in the business to determine, what should be next.
Mhm.
Um, that's kind of, how I have figured it out. And then finally, at one point, I was talking to my father and I wanted to change some of the things that I thought were really important, or I should say some of the what's some of the norms of the company. And, I was talking to my father and I said, Dad, I really want to change this and I want to change that. And he was like, and I was like, is it okay? And he's like, what? I said, I was waiting on you. He said, what? I was waiting on you. I said, oh my God. And it's just like a burden was lifted out, off of my shoulders because I realized that I was tethering this invisible rope to him
Mhm.
that I did no longer had to. And that's when I cut the rope and stopped asking for permission from him and then just going ahead and doing it. And so that was just a major aha moment for me.
Mhm.
And that's when I felt like I came into my own as the president and owner, and not Joe and Eunice Dudley's daughter.
Right. Well,
Person.
fantastic. Yes. And so this was still after you paid for the company.
Well, yeah, while I was still paying for it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, right. So you've already written the check, still paying for it. And right, it just takes a while to catch up with that. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. And what is the value to you now, looking back on it, uh, of the value of you actually paying, writing a check, to your parents and the other owners of the company to be the owner of the company, of actually literally buying it from them, the assets transferring to your name. What is the value of that versus some other type of arrangement where maybe you didn't have to pay market value for it? Maybe it was just more pro forma, give me, $1,000 or whatever, it's yours. What's the value you see of paying for it, the market value of actually buying the assets of it?
Oh, it changes everything because you now have skin in the game. It's just like I was talking to somebody today, and they were talking about their child going to college. And all of us, don't want our children to have college debt. If we can help it, right? And so, student loans. And so, uh, we've like I told my children, I said, I'm going to pay for 4 years, or we'll pay for 4 years, but after 4 years, you're on your own. And so it's very different when you have that skin in the game, when you have had to use your own money to buy the company versus it coming from some inheritance or anything like that. Um, then you treat things a lot differently because you realize it's your money and not some bank's money, not somebody else's money, at the time. And you talk about partnerships, and, we talked earlier about who you surround yourself
Hmm.
with. And one of the things that happened when I bought the company and started, and because we had the fire, I didn't have a lot of money sitting around. I had some money, and I had used some of that to help Dudley Products during the time. But, when I started, because I had to buy products and all sorts of things in the beginning, I cashed out my 401k. My husband cashed out his 401k so that we could have products. I called my Harvard friends and say, "Hey, Harvard friend, how you doing? I'd like to borrow some money." And, there were some people, some friends who came to us and they said, "Oh, sure, we'll loan you the money, but you got to put your house up." And it's like, "Oh, you got to put your house up as collateral." So I talked to my husband and said, "Hey, let me tell you what's going on." And he said, "Yes." So it's very different, when you got to put your house up as for collateral, you got to
Hmm.
put your 401k up, you got to start calling your friends, asking for money. Oh, it humbles you for one. But
Hmm.
then you also, if you're willing to do that, then that also means that you have a passion for it and you're going to be willing to do what it takes. I
Hmm.
tell people all the time, I said, when things happen, I mean, when COVID happened, that sort of thing, you got to be flexible. But I said, but when it comes on betting somebody, I bet on me all day long. And
Hmm.
as an entrepreneur and a CEO, you got to be able to bet on yourself. If you can't bet on yourself, don't do it.
Thank you. Well said. The mic has dropped. We'll move on. So when it becomes your company, you have it. You buy the assets. You're the realization where the tether is broken. How do you put together your own team? How do you surround yourself with leaders? Did you keep everyone was there, or over time, maybe as people retire, etc.? How do you find and how do you build the culture and the team around you that matches you, your talents and ability, versus maybe those of your parents?
That's a great question. So I was fortunate to be able to um, hire people, some of the people from Dudley Products to come and work with me. And they're people that I had worked with before. So that was wonderful for me. Okay. And so we developed, more of a working relationship as time had gone on. And then it really is just a matter of, when I interview people for positions within the company, of course, I want them to have some experience in what they did. But that's not really the most important thing. It really is hiring for culture, hiring for that person. I'll give you a quick example. One of the things I do is when I'm interviewing a person, let's say I have a box of paper clips on my desk, I might intentionally drop them. And I'm going to see if they're going to bend down to help me pick them up. If they don't, that is not someone that I want. Okay. If they do, then I say, okay, that's somebody that is going to help me when I need help. Now you might say, oh, that's such a small thing. I can't believe that. But here's the thing. It's the small things that will make a difference and with the big things, right? So for me, what I've been able to do is really look at some of the things that people don't think are important, but are important to me to have the type of person that I want. And if I have the type of person that I want, then we can teach them those other things. So that's, what I've done is really over the years kind of learned and developed the skills or to see what's going to be important for me. But not only that, I also use a number of personality tests just to help guide me. So for example, one of the ones we use is called Predictive Index, PI. And you develop a profile for that position. So if it's a very detailed position, you're looking for a very detailed person. And so we develop a profile for that position. And so that's going to be one of the things that one of the assessments that the person fills out beforehand. We also look at Myers-Briggs. We take all those things into account as well so that we're getting someone for that position that, has a better opportunity for success. And then when I'm talking to the person, then I'm really looking for some of those other soft skills that are important to me.
Thank you for sharing that. That is just fantastic story. Really appreciate that. Um, you'd mentioned this a little bit before, but how do you approach actually funding the growth of the company? You'd mentioned some equity capital you put in yourself. Do you have investors? Do you prefer bootstrapping? What kind of method
So for
is working for
me,
Dudley? Yeah.
I do a lot of bootstrapping. Also, our customers have been really good with helping us to fund different things. So, for example, when I bought my first building, I did a campaign with our distributors, our salespeople, and if they did a certain amount during a certain time period, that sort of thing. And so we did that, and their pictures were displayed in the building. So I do a lot of, I would say a lot of, not, a lot of different sorts of things.
Okay.
Campaigns with my customers, but much more bootstrapping. Sometimes we'll do some of the loans and things like, some of the COVID disaster recovery loans were very
Sure.
helpful for us. So, thank God for that. But really, I try not to have any loans with banks except for real estate, if I can help it, unless it's a really, really good rate. I try to really kind of fund the growth within. And I don't have I don't have any investors. Maybe at some point I'll look at that. But right now, I kind of prefer to run things the way that I do for the moment. But at some point, I know I will have to get to that to really scale the way that I want to.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing the approach. It's good to know that you have plans for you have plans for the future in which and how you're going to approach those type of partners,
hmm
which is really critical going forward. So thank you for sharing that. Can you share with us just, we hear everything about AI, emerging technology, et cetera. How have just the technology in general, be it hardware, software, et cetera, how has that been a game changer for you guys?
My goodness, it has helped us tremendously. Where do I start? So for example, now this is something that it's been around for a while, but
Hmm.
it helps us contact our customers. So for example, robocalls. We use those to let our customers know about different promotions that we have. We
Hmm.
also, of course, do, and that could be a robocall with a phone call, could be a robotext. Of course, we do emails to let our customers know.
Mhm.
So that's a piece of technology that hasn't always been around, but that, we use that helps us. When I
Mhm.
started Dudley Beauty Corp, one of the things that we did then was a virtual assistant, a virtual receptionist. Okay. So
Mhm.
we've never at Dudley Products, we actually had a physical receptionist. We don't have a physical receptionist. We have only virtual receptionists. Additionally, we don't have your typical phone system that some companies use. Everyone in my company has cell phones. So everything is routed through a cell phone. And all this was done back in 2008. Because so you say, oh, well, that's nothing. People do that now. But this was 17 years ago that
Mhm.
we've done some of those things. And so uh, we look to technology to see how it can help us to really make things even quicker or better. Even now, like even with some of the production planning and things like that, AI has been very helpful with that. Whereas before we had to run this report, run that report, AI will tell you fairly quickly, okay, your sales are up in this month in this particular product, your rate of sale is this amount. You can do more here, or this is down. So switch that production to this product instead. So we're looking at a number of things to help us as far as technology is concerned to help grow the business, even more.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. What's next for the company, and how are you preparing for the future?
My goodness, what's next? There's so many things. Where do I
Yeah.
begin? So a couple things. One, my son
Mhm.
is in the business.
Okay.
So we've got third generation. He
Uh-huh.
does inside and outside sales. So he's learning from the ground up. He's working in the factory and all that, growing up. So I'm very excited. He graduated from University of North Carolina, Greensboro with a degree in entrepreneurship. His name is Mark Jr. He's in the business and learning. So that's fantastic. My daughter is going a different route. She started off in banking. She graduated from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte in international studies. They're both fluent in Spanish. So she's going to work in banking for a while, and then eventually she'll come over to the business. So she'll be able to bring um, that expertise to the company. So that's exciting to have the next generation in the company. Uh, some of the other things that we're working on is we're working on more industrial sales, and what I mean by that, I should say industrial accounts. So some of the bigger areas we've done sales with the military, with some of the chain salons. So
Mhm.
we're working on building, that side of the business, looking at prisons and any number of
Mhm.
hotels, hospitals, that sort of thing, to truly build a business, from that standpoint.
Mhm.
We were already doing more from a retail standpoint online, and that's
Mhm.
growing. So we're
Mhm.
excited about that and just looking to see what more we can do with the professionals as well. We have a special program called our Diamond Rewards Program, which
Mhm.
is an exclusive program where cosmetologists can be featured in a variety of ways. Their business can be featured on our website and that sort of thing, but they also can network with each other and learn some best practices as well. So we're doing quite a few things, and I'm really excited about where everything is going uh,
Mhm.
in the industry. And well, I would say especially in the industry and where we're going with our hair.
Gotcha, gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. Another related question to that is, how do you address the global market?
So that's a great question. We have some distributors especially in the Caribbean,
Mhm.
as well as in parts of Europe, in Canada. And so we're always looking for other distributors in those areas.
Mhm.
Um, but it requires a different kind of person who is willing to do that. And we're not looking for stores or anything like that in those areas either. So it really is on a case by case basis because they do require different regulations,
Mhm.
different legal requirements. So we're a little wary, but if the right person comes along, we're happy to talk with them and discuss, what could be done. I mean, we are praying for our distributor in Jamaica and the Bahamas, that they're okay, with everything
Hmm.
that went on with the storm.
Right. Right. Thank you for sharing that. And then Ursula, what are your superpowers and how did you discover them?
So that's a great question. I think that I have learned over the years um, certain things that I'm good at. Okay, so I am
Hmm.
a process person,
Hmm.
and so I've learned over the years that I'm really good at looking at things and thinking of ways to do them better. And so I think about it and then I'll write it down and then but I'm always looking and saying, okay, well, how can we do this better? Or okay, how can we do that better? And sometimes that could be a superpower and sometimes, maybe not so much. You ask my husband and I say, well, why are you going this way home? Shouldn't we go that way? It's going to be so much faster. And he's like, Ursula. So I would say that that's one of my superpowers is efficiency and how we can do things, in a better, maybe more cost effective way, and
Hmm.
then making sure that I document that, right? I would say another thing is that I have a really good empathy when it comes to people. Meaning, I was talking to one of my friends this past 2 weeks ago. And she was like, or and she asked me something. I don't know. She has young kids, and she's running around, and she's a wife and a mother, and she works, and she's like, Ursula, you need to write a book on self care. I think that's what you need to do. And I said, well, maybe. I said, but whenever a book is ready to come out of me, then it will. So
Hmm.
I believe that I'm one of those people that I'm a good listener. People like to
Hmm.
talk to me and tell me particular things. They know that I'm going to keep it confidential, but
Hmm.
I'm also going to do my best to help them in any way that I can. And I think that's one of my superpowers.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And is there any other thoughts you'd like to share with the audience of other entrepreneurs and CEOs that are growing and scaling their companies? Any other lessons learned or stories that you'd like to share? Oh.
Yeah. Yes. So
Hmm.
there are two things. One is that I would say, and this is something that I tell businesses, business owners when I teach classes, is that you always be flexible. You're constantly going to have to change your plans, right? So, one thing maybe you all have heard this, the Mike Tyson quote that plans are great till you get punched in the face.
Hmm.
And so, um, just continue to have plan A, plan B, plan C. And if that doesn't work, plan D, plan E, plan F. You keep on going till you get to Z. If that doesn't work, you go A1, A2, A3, A4. Continue to change your plans if necessary. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, it's okay if this one didn't work out. That's something that you learned and you go to the next one. But you keep
Hmm.
changing and don't let that get you down if that didn't work. But don't bet the farm on it. But keep trying and you'll be successful. You'll get there. And then the final thing is when times are tough, remember why you got into the business. Remember why you started the business in the first place, because that's what's going to keep you going no matter what. My motto, and I created this. It came from I want to say it came from this book called "Riches Within Your Reach," where it said, "Talk about create your own." Mission statement or motto and that sort of thing. And, for me, it's that I truly want to, help people. I want to give people a dose of hope
Hmm.
so that, and enrich their lives so that when they look in the mirror, they know that God didn't take time to make a nobody. We
Hmm.
are, whoever you believe in, I believe that we are a child of God and
Hmm.
that, we are here for a purpose and know your purpose. And, for me, I believe that so much has been given and that means so much is required. And, I am willing to do what is required because I am so grateful for what has been given to me. My
Mhm,
father's no longer with me. I miss him
mhm.
every day. My mother is still here. She's 81 years young, and I love her dearly. And I would not be who I am today without my parents, without God, without Mr. Fuller, and friends like John and Nicole, and people who have had such an impact on me in my life. And for that, I'm just thankful.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you for sharing that, and congratulations on your success and what the future holds too. We'll love to bring you back in the future and to see how the plans are moving forward and evolving.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today on C2 Biz Growth, Iron Sharpens Iron podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, LinkedIn, Spotify, the Cornerstone Group.us, website, and other locations. We invite you to listen, subscribe, and share. See you next time.
Thank you, John. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to the C2 Biz Growth Iron Sharpens Iron podcast. And check us out on social media, share, and subscribe.